Welcome along once again to the Cardiff City phone-in on our new kind of platform place. It's all very exciting. You know, three grown men scrabbling around in the dark, wondering what's happening. You know, it's just like any other day in my life, to be honest, except there's only normally just the one of me. So we've got Steve Wiggins joining us in a bit, and Nigel Blue's resplendent in a marvellous Cardiff City top there. I haven't seen that one before, actually. Very nice.
Although it's that time of year, hasn't it? Autumn's arrived.
Yeah, oh, it does, hasn't it?
Yeah, why put on the central heating? The house is hotter than summer now.
Yeah, well, I'm in the, you know, I mean, this is my studio, but it's also known in the house as the garden shed. So I've got a little heater on underneath the table. But David Collins, thanks for coming on the show tonight. Dave, I wanted to get you on because obviously, you know, as a journalist, you've been covering Wales games recently, so it's, you know, you've seen various things going on. You were at the was it the under-20s and under-20s, under-21s when did you go to that one? It was a Gibraltar game you went to, wasn't it? The friendly, and then the main event last night.
Well, I've been to a couple of Wales games lately. There was a curious arrangement in Newport where Wales under-21 played Liechtenstein's under-23.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not quite sure why under-23 was always such a milestone in footballers' lives, but when I was growing up, under-23 internationals were, you know, were quite the norm. Anyway, so I went to that, and Wales won. I think they won 4-0. Ruben Cole was excellent. He scored 2 goals, and you could just see he was streets ahead of the rest of the players. His brother played, and Joe Lowe played as well. So that was an enjoyable encounter. And then I was in Gibraltar. No, I wasn't in Gibraltar. I was in Wrexham for the game against Gibraltar on Wednesday. That was a nice, you know, opportunity to be up in Wrexham. It was a very, very one-sided affair, but some good performances from, you know, Charlie South. We can talk about this later, but you know,
he looked good, didn't he?
Charlie South. He looked very good.
Yeah.
He was spraying passes around the pitch in a sort of Glenn Hoddle style, but he put in one crunching challenge in a Robbie Savage style, and you could almost hear the crunch around the ground.
Yeah.
So he did well, and you know, Lowe. In the second half, our back three was Lockyer, Lowe, and oh gosh, who was the other one? I can't remember. I'll come back to it later. But I thought this could be our you know, our centre back pairings for the next
years
few
to come.
There was I'll tell you who it was Regan Poole.
Oh, Regan, yeah.
Ex-Newport, ex-Cardiff trialist, I think. So Paul Lockyer and Lowe, and I thought you could see that. And then, well, last night was just another level again.
Yeah. The Gibraltar game. Hi, Steve. By the way, thanks, Steve. We're talking to Dave first because we think he might be having to indulge in his showbiz lifestyle later, so he might leave us in a bit. So we're just talking, and of course he's a journalist, Steve, so he's been covering all these different games, you know. Yeah. Obviously, we talk about Cardiff City connections as well because there is one, isn't there, with a particular goal actually, which happened. But are you two things for you then, David? Are you? It sounds like you are fairly excited for the future of football in Wales. You know, are there lots of good young uns coming through and fringe players?
Well, if you'd asked me a fortnight ago, I would have been a bit gloomy. Not even a fortnight, maybe a week. Yeah. I'd have been a bit gloomy, and I thought, why are we playing Gibraltar? I could see the PR value of it, but I thought that kind of works best if you play Mullin, and Mullin wasn't in the squad. And maybe if you'd have played Gibraltar at the Cardiff City Stadium, you know, 10,000 would have been lost. If you'd have played at Swansea, that would have looked a bit patronising. And I thought playing at Gibraltar in Wrexham was a masterstroke. And to give these youngsters an opportunity, Savage played the whole game. As I say, Poole and Lowe were superb. What's the name? Jordan James, JJ. He's become almost undroppable. He really, for a guy who was at Birmingham, for a guy who was in and out of Birmingham, he's become undroppable for Wales. He was superb. Kiefer Moore scored 2 goals. They're always good for a striker to score 2 goals.
Yeah.
The second half died a bit of a death because we made so many changes, and Gibraltar were fairly happy to keep it to 4-0, and we weren't going to get injured and break our guts. So the second half, faded away a bit, and my 5-hour drive down the closed roads of Shropshire and Merthyr Tydfil took a little of the shine off the game. But, I thought, well, that's not a bad outing. But last night, well, I think it's the most impressive Wales performance since 2016. That game when we beat Russia 3-0 was, I think, one of the best performances in British sport, never mind Welsh football. But last night we beat a proper team, Croatia. They were in these teams get to the World Cup final, and they beat England in the semi-finals. It was a tremendous result, and we thoroughly deserved it. A couple of hairy moments here and there, obviously, but so go back to the question, Steve. Yeah, very, very optimistic now. You'd like to think that we would beat Armenia away. You'd like to think that, and then it comes to I nearly used an expletive there, but it comes to a do or die battle against Turkey, and I think Turkey are volatile. If it was away, well, I'm not quite sure, but at home with 30,000 fans of the Red Wall, maybe with Ramsey and certainly Johnson back, but who would you drop? All of a sudden it's glass, not even half full, it's glass 3/4 full.
How full is your glass, Dave?
Pardon?
How full is your glass?
It will need a bit of help soon, Steve. And also as well, at the end of the game, I noticed last night that the whole of the backroom staff really embraced Page because of all this noise about Robbie. And it was very much together stronger, and the crowd will, urge them over the line. And then, you have to say our chances of qualification are looking good. Plus, of course, we have this opportunity via the playoffs, whatever it's called, the Nations League, isn't it?
Well, let me bring in. When we're talking about top strikers, so Steve Wiggins is with us tonight. He was lethal.
I've seen him on the picket.
Wiggins.
I've seen him on the picket line as a great striker.
Thank you, Steve.
So, Steve, what's your? We're talking about Wales obviously to begin with, because at the moment there's no City games. We'll get on to Bristol City a bit later on. It's way off yet, but what's your thoughts? I'm guessing you were surprised, were you?
A little, yeah. What I liked about the match last night was the tempo we started off on, and it is something which the City would do well to adhere to as well, especially at home. And we were straight on the front foot and caught them on the hop, I think. And realistically, we blew them away the first 20 minutes. Okay, we may not have scored there, but I think they were surprised how forceful and how we got on that front foot straight away was really impressive. And it was just what the doctor ordered. It got the fans up, and it's something that, like I say, I hope Mr. Bullett's watching, because it does make a difference when you start the game well. We all know that, and you're pushing sides back. You've got the wing backs bombing on, or the full backs bombing on, creating chances, and it looked like we could have scored any time. Brilliant.
We don't do that.
It was a very lively opening. I remember writing a lively opening. Dai Brooks was out of this world. Most of the press gave Harry Wilson star man, and he scored 2 goals. Dai Brooks was tremendous, I thought.
He's it's good to see him back, because obviously he was out for quite a long time. Nigel, Harry Wilson, former City player, of course, banging in the goals, Kean Ashford knocking him in the back of the net, One for Cardiff City, where would the Wales teams be, isn't it?
It was, I don't know, I've got red, green and yellow fireworks going off outside the window.
Right.
I don't know if that's celebrating last night.
Well timed.
But it was a tremendous. I've got to be honest, I had the group ticket, and I think if it wasn't for that, I might not have gone last night, because it was partly because it was Sunday night football. It's not great to go and see a game on a Sunday night, and partly
No.
I think, like a lot of Welsh fans, I don't think there was a great deal of optimism about how this was going to turn out. This campaign it's been pretty flat, hasn't
It
it?
was like
Particularly
fizzling
after
out, wasn't it? At one stage, talking about fireworks.
So to go down there last night, and you did feel the atmosphere before kickoff. It was building nicely, and David and Steve mentioned, the Wales were at it from the off. I think they had a chance in the first 25 seconds, if I remember rightly, and another one before 2 minutes. So, it was the forward play. Page has come under a lot of criticism, and I think one of the mistakes he stopped playing 5 at the back, and he reverted to that last night, and that seemed to give Wales the platform to get forward, a bit of stability, and of course those 2 boys in midfield, Ampadu and Jordan James. What a game they both had, and everything came from there, because we got those flair players. We know Wales have got flair players. You've just got to give them the opportunity to show that and to play, and they had the right platform last night. In a way, in the last group games against Armenia and Turkey, they you were playing to their strengths to a certain degree.
Beginner's error going off there. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if there's any messages coming in. Sorry, Nigel, carry on.
Yeah, no, it was just a fantastic result, and a fantastic, for me, that was the best Welsh performance I've seen in quite a few years, arguably since Belgium in Euro 2016, because even though we've been in Euro campaigns and World Cup since, they haven't quite hit that level of performance for the whole 90 minutes as they did last night.
Sorry about that. I don't know whether, Nigel, you were able to see if there was any chat coming in.
No, nothing at the moment.
Okay, so if you want to take part in the conversation, then give us a shout. I don't know if any of you can share this on social media while it's going out somehow or other. I don't know if we can do that, but that would be good. Well, I'll stick with you, Nigel, for now. That Kean Ashford goal was something special, wasn't it?
Brilliant. He's a very good player, and I've heard a lot about him from about 3 or 4 years I've been away in Ashford, and there's a guy I know in Barry who used to be a manager of Torquay, and he was looking at him. He's been scouted at Wolves and Southampton, and I said to him, "Are you interested? What do you think of him?" He said he's a really good player, stands out in the Cardiff team. I'm not so sure about him for high 11. I said, "Great, because I don't want you to take him anyway."
Oh, right.
But he was that goal he took the other night, that brilliant finishing, a really good technique to it. And that was a brilliant result for the under-21s, wasn't it? Because they've opened up with 2 great results and a draw in Czechoslovakia. It was great. It just feels like the last week Wales has come back to life.
Seemed to have turned a corner.
Yeah.
It's just like someone's flicked a switch, and on the wall. And what explanation can we give for that?
Well, I tell you who's flicked that switch, I think, is Noel Moody, because if those comments are to be believed about Roy Keane, and I suppose we might never know, then that seems to have galvanised the squad.
Could you give us a flavour of those comments without being any at all,
Well, the rumour, according to The Sun, was that they wanted Wales were looking for a high-profile, big-name manager, and were looking at Roy Keane, I don't know, back early in the year. And if we'd lost yesterday, or maybe not even won, then further inquiries might have been made, and that seemed to galvanise the squad. The whole together stronger thing. Ashford, of course, he scored 4 goals for City in the early rounds of the Nathaniel Cup, the sort of Curry Premier League Cup, and he's been just bubbling below the surface of the first team squad, I think, with the Carabao Cup, etc. So he's certainly one to watch. A tremendous volley he scored.
Did you see the interview with him after the game, David?
With Ashford?
Yeah.
No.
They did one of these things where they played back the goal to him, and they got his response, and he seemed really kind of level-headed. He appreciated what a great moment it was for him and how much, for the team and everything. But he came across really well,
I did see a wonderful interview with Robert Page on Scorio last night with Sioned Dafydd, and Paige was really filling up with emotion because it meant so much to him, and she was almost in tears as well. It was only 5 minutes because she couldn't go on much longer. It was a wonderful interview, and it just showed. You felt that Paige wanted to stick her big two fingers up to the rest of the world.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, Steve, before that result last night, I don't. Football fans are a fickle bunch. Whatever level we're talking about, there was a fair bit of pressure on Robert Page. Obviously, he came in with limited experience. He took over during a kind of a crisis. Some of his tactics were criticised. Is he good enough for the role? But I think David alluded to it then. He seemed to certainly make the point, vociferously, that we're a team, we're together. I'm proud to be your manager, and I got no intention of going anywhere.
I think the thing about it altogether, Steve, is he was on a really bad run of results, as we all know, and he probably realised, like Dave just alluded to, that if we'd drawn that game last night, or God forbid lost it, then
could have been a goner.
The chopper was there waiting to be put over his head. So, but it looks like he's got all the squad together, and you could tell the end of the game, like the guys have said, the circle at the end of the match, and there's a togetherness there for sure. But it's just really strange how everything has just gone, and especially with two of our stars missing from the starting lineup as well. When you looked at the lineup, you thought, well, I thought, well, God, you left Daniel James out. I would have played him personally, but it worked out okay. We obviously had a plan to bring him on second half, but when three of your main threats are not in the starting lineup, you think, well, we'll be lucky to maybe come out of it with a draw. So, but fair play to him, and like I said, he must have had them fight. Well, they were all fired up in the changing rooms.
They seemed to be all for one, sort of very together, didn't they?
All for one for all.
Yeah.
I think James was carrying a little bit of a knock, which is why he didn't start, because I was surprised he didn't start as well. Yeah. I can understand some of the noise around Page, because if you're playing players from the top clubs in the countries, Ben Davies of Spurs, Premier League players, Cardiff City, then you might look at Page and say, well, sorry, who are you? What have you achieved in the game? And as a player, he was a good journeyman championship player, but he's not a Giggs or a Mourinho or a Keane. So I can understand it, but he is responding in the most effective way. And he is, he's pushing the country forward, maybe more with his heart than his head. But, I think last night was a massive result for him in particular.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Page, he's a really nice guy, very honest, isn't he? But I think he has been found wanting tactically. He's looked naive. I mean, Steve alluded to results being poor. The performances have been dreadful the last year or two. Let's make no bones about that. And that World Cup was terrible. And the Armenia game last month, the home game, was just shocking the way he set them up, that game. So I get where the criticism has come from. And there's been, he's on this 4-year contract, which I think was a big ricket anyway, to put him on that length of contract. But
yeah, I was a bit surprised at that.
Yeah.
I think the World Cup, I think it was to be honest, it was a case of rabbits caught in the headlights. It was a massive thing for the country, and we weren't ready for it. It was boiling hot, and it just didn't work. We were there, and I just think we just got a bit overpowered by the whole occasion of it all. But with the exception of Armenia, most of the results have been either okay or expected. A bonus away in Croatia. All right, losing to Turkey, you're going to get that. But if we'd beaten Armenia, I think the climate would have looked very, very different. He's lost a couple of big players, but, Gunter was, ready to retire. Hennessy, I think, is probably being persuaded to stay on because, look, Wayne, we haven't got anyone else, If anything happens to Danny Ward, I think I might have had a go in goals, because...
I don't know, he had four goalkeepers last month in the squad, didn't he?
Well, we had Tom King. I don't know. Is Tom King ex-Newport? I think he is.
Yes, he is. Yes.
I couldn't tell you where he is now. The lad at
True.
Sheffield
I think he's at True.
Well, I rest my case. The lad at Danny Ward is at well, he's not even on the bench at Leicester. See, the guy at Sheffield United, is it Davis?
Yeah, he was injured, wasn't he?
Alan Davis, was it?
Yeah. And we just haven't got. I was at Cardiff Met the other week, and they were playing Barrytown United, and their goalie is very, very good. And if he was a bit taller, I think he would be on the EFL radar, you know. So
they said that about Nigel in the old days.
I was in goals yesterday.
Stand up, Nigel. Sorry, you stood up. Sorry.
I can always throw an SOS out for Frank Parsons. Remember him?
Yes.
Frank Parsons. Yeah.
Oh,
well, since you mentioned Cardiff City, right? David, could you possibly introduce us to the new Cardiff City legend?
Yes, I have a new addition to my life. It's a new lady in my life, gentlemen, and there is a Cardiff City connection. And I'm gonna, if I can just take up, get the camera ready. Hang on, say ACK.
I failed miserably when he asked me about the name, I must say. Yeah. Nigel will get this straight away.
Yeah. So there is a Cardiff City connection to this young lady whose name is Trix. His name is Trixie. Now, why is she called Trixie?
Look, I just show Mrs. Wiggins. She loves cat. Trixie.
Come and see Trixie.
Put him up again, Mrs. Wiggins. What's her name, Dave? Trixie.
Her name's Trixie.
Hello, Kath.
Oh, hiya.
Hello.
Oh, she's small.
She's so tiny. She's about 12 weeks old. Now, when Cardiff City won the FA Cup in 1927,
yes,
they adopted a cat on the way to the final, I think from Southport. And the manager said, or the owner of the cat said, well, that's okay. But if you get to the final, I want a free ticket. And the name of the cat was Trixie. And Trixie was a black cat. So Trixie is going to be our good luck charm this year, isn't she?
Great.
How old is she?
Oh, she's about 12 weeks. She's tiny. She's in there, but she's doing very well. So that's my current distraction from all things.
It's a shame it's a black and white cat, really, though, isn't it? You know, it's a shame it's a black and white cat. You know, it's a nod to our friends down west, isn't it? Really?
No, it's Trixie. Trixie was a black cat.
There we go. Well done.
Anyway, so there we go.
Nigel, sticking with great to have Trixie's debut on the show, by the way.
Thank you.
Nigel, sticking with Cardiff City, of course. When Wales played Turkey, that's at our place again, I think, isn't it? I imagine.
Yeah.
So I wonder, Errol Buller to be there, with all his Turkish pals in the crowd. Sacrificing sheep before kickoff and stuff.
The way and back in his Burberry gear.
Yeah, I bet he'd be there, wouldn't he? He'll be there with all his Turkish.
Yeah, he was there last night. I know a couple of people who sat with him now and talking with him last night. But yeah, I think he enjoys watching the international stuff anyway. And we had a couple of the guys away as well, haven't we? Shoppers played for Greece on the weekend. They won in Ireland. So
yeah, it came on towards the end, I think, didn't he?
He did. He only came on late. But I think, he looked a lot
Robinson
better.
got on as well, didn't he?
Who needs Modric when you got Shoppers, eh?
Yeah, that's right. Well, Nigel, just to stick with you for a second, because I know you've been to Turkey loads of times, and you love Turkey, and I think you love the Turkish people.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So the Errol Buller, he's the Cardiff City manager. Wales are playing Turkey, massive match. Mixed emotions.
Yeah, well, I've got a lot of Turkish friends, but the strange thing was I was last there in June, not long after Errol Buller was made Cardiff City manager.
Yeah,
I went into a couple of sort of bars and restaurants with Cardiff City's shirt or whatever on, and they came up to me straight away. You've got Errol Buller. I'm going to watch your team. I'm going to follow your team. They all knew. It was a big deal for people in Turkey that Buller is. So I didn't realise how well known, but obviously he was manager of Fenerbahce before quite recently, so that's why he is so well known out there anyway. But yeah, it really did create a big interest. And then even as I walking down if you walk down the street with Cardiff City top on, Errol Bullitt. So yeah, it's amazing the recognition you get.
I mean, it's a funny thing with the Turkish, shall we say, ability to sell stuff is what I'm going with for now. Yeah. The next thing now, if we end up fairly high up the table, I don't know, it's early days, but if we did, you'll be going into a shop now. There'll be Cardiff City shirts everywhere, Bullet on the back of it. Buy this, my friend. It's a genuine fake.
Well, I did have my £10 Wales shirt on from Turkey last night. Great
there
job.
You go. Yeah, they don't miss a trick, do they? They don't miss a trick. Steve, what's your take on our Bullet so far?
Well, pleasantly surprised, Steve. I think. I don't think any of us probably on this broadcast here tonight would have forecast what were you in, Nigel? Position?
I'd never heard of him when he came in.
Never heard of the guy. So I think he's done really well. I hope he's learned from some of his mistakes against Ipswich, Leeds, Leicester, which have been documented in previous shows. And theoretically, if we had closed those games down, we could be sitting nicely in the top comfortably, which is beyond anyone's wildest dreams, isn't it, Steve? Let's be honest.
And when you look how far Ipswich are ahead of third, I mean, they're going like a train.
Unbelievable. Yeah. It's a really strange season. You got those two teams that are pulling away. But as we showed against Ipswich, we blew them off the park for the first half. And, I think if Ollie Tanner had stayed on the pitch that game, we probably would have come away with 3 points.
I suppose, David, there's kind of a little bit of a link. Sorry, Steve, I didn't mean to cut you off if I did. There's a little bit of a kind of a link there between Wales and Cardiff City in terms of when Wales pretty well, apart from 2 or 3 players like Steve said, had pretty well their strongest side out, and they look really good. It reminds me of actually the Euros in 2016 when we had a couple of key players missing. We didn't quite look as good because we don't have a massive squad. And with Cardiff City, we've got 25 players I think on the books at the moment. 2 of them are goalkeepers. Several of them injured. You can have a squad of 19 on for a match day. We've got about 20. That we can pick from. So, it's the same kind of thing, isn't it? I mean, Wales has got the numbers of players that it has because it's a small nation. But what you said about young players coming through is great. But Cardiff clearly need to bolster the squad, don't they, moving forward?
Well, I think it was at the Watford game. But it would have been at the Watford game. And I turned to, one of the guys I sit by, and I said, this is the first time I've noticed a Ramsey-shaped hole in the team because the back four are, pretty decent.
They pick themselves at the moment, don't they?
Yeah, setting aside the horror that was the Watford goal, the keeper's, had a good season, Alwick, and I think he's endeared himself to the fans. He was jubilant after the Jacks victory, and he referenced his jubilance to the Swansea fans, and that went down well with the home fans. so that's all sorted. Is it Tete is looking a great deal up front.
Coming good, isn't he?
Yeah, and the midfield is industrious and solid. But there was this Ramsey-shaped hole, particularly alongside Shopshish, because if that's how you pronounce it, because Shopshish does. Is that how you pronounce it, Nigel?
I go Siopis.
Siopis, sorry, Siopis.
Siopis does the ugly work, and he gives it to Ramsey to do the pretty stuff. And when you've got the two of them together, that works quite well. Ollie Tanner out wide, and then with the other players I mentioned in front. But you take one of those. If you took Ramsey, well, as against Watford, Ramsey and Etete out of the equation, and then there's not a lot left. It looks fairly sort of journeyman type. Now, is is Colwell the heir to Ramsey's throne for Cardiff City? Maybe.
That's my big criticism there, David, and just sorry to butt in there, but the only thing I'd say about Bullet, and I looked at the fixtures and I thought, right, Rambo's out. It's an ideal opportunity now for you to bang Colwell in the team, the Rotherham game, for a few games, but, and play him centrally, because when Colwell's as we all know, come on the pitch this season. He stuck out wide right, and a lot of our
I think all the last few City managers have been waiting to bring Colwell on when we're 3-0 up against tired defenders who have already lost the game, but we're never in that position. We're always bringing him on, trying to rescue the game, or when the game's already gone, and it's not fair to the lad. Now people would say, well, he's not a lad now, but he's still young, you know.
That's my criticism, Dave. When you look at the fixtures, and there were some nice fixtures on paper coming up, and I thought the Rotherham game's an ideal opportunity to stick him in number 10. Let's see how he does in the middle. But of course, he keeps banging this drum where he's not doing the defensive work. When did a Glenn Hoddle do defensive work?
Well, exactly.
I know I'm going back a bit, but we all know that we've got that midfield which is so defensive minded with Winfield and Siopolis, and it just needs a bit of ingenuity in there. And give the guy, especially against a Rotherham, give him a little bit of a free rein then, or as much as you can, to go and show you what he can do in the side, playing where he should be playing, not out on the flank.
Toshak used to say you need 7 men to carry the piano and 4 men to play it. And he's one of the ones that plays it,
The thing about it is, Dave, we don't ask that you can flip the thing around. We don't ask, Windle and Siopolis to get up there and put that killer ball through for goals. So why would you ask then a creative player to come back and do the ugly work when you know he's going to put that killer ball through, or probably put one in the top corner? So
but interestingly, Tanner seems to have come from nowhere to be a name on the team sheet, and Tanner does do that backtracking. He'll never have to buy a drink in Cardiff again after that goal against Swansea. But
they got a song about him, Dave. Did you know that?
Go on.
yeah, we won't sing it now, though. We'll leave it.
Oh yes, sorry. Yeah, I am aware. I have heard those lyrics. Yeah. But he does backtrack as well. So managers like workman-like players. And in the Championship, that's the sort of players that, especially the likes of, Warnock, Mick McCarthy, that they turn to. As I said earlier, we haven't got the luxury. We're not in the luxurious position to bring on, Colwell with the game already won. And it'll be interesting to see, we were talking about Keane Ashford early on, if and when they play him, will he get a game in the FA Cup, for example, where...
Maybe,
I think this problem with Colwell is that I think one of Bullett's, you can't say it's false, but one of the things that stand out with him at the moment is that I think he sees Rolls, Wintle, and who's the other one in Siopolis as undroppable. And he's putting those 3 in central midfield no matter what. And as we've seen recently with Ramsey out, he's trying to play Wintle in a more advanced role. And that's not Wintle's game at all.
No.
But that is insisting on those 3 every game.
And I tell you what,
defense of a Colwell or a Callum Robinson, who's also not getting game time at the moment, and they're the quality.
But he brings Robinson on, and he puts Robinson in midfield. And I think Robinson is more of a he's more of a chopper, central striker playing off the big man, rather than he's not Glenn Hoddle. He's a Lineker type player, I think. I tell you who I am impressed by, relatively so, is Grant.
Yeah,
he's getting through some good stuff. Yeah,
he's getting better.
Take a look at some of the. Sorry to butt in again, Dave. Take a look at some of the West Brom goals when Grant and Robinson were in the team.
I was going to say the same thing, Steve.
I mean, for me, Ugbo is not a centre forward, but he keeps putting him in there and bringing him off. Yeah, and I watched those West Brom goals with Robinson, teaming up and Grant banging the goals in centrally, and Robinson, banging the goals in as well. So surely he must have seen that, but he persists on playing Grant wide, who has improved, yes, the past few games. But why not? Because we haven't really got a centre forward until, if please, we sign Kiefer Moore or another, then why not try Grant in there with Robinson just behind him?
I agree.
That's what I like Etete. I think Etete has been this in the last couple of games.
If he's fit, Dave, yeah, but Ugbo's not a centre forward in a million.
No.
Maybe.
And we got a lot of dead wood. People like, I don't know, Romain Sawyers. I'm not quite sure what he does. Rinamoto doesn't bring all that much to the party. And we got a Romeo doesn't really impress me.
No.
Which is why that back four is so crucial. You know, Collins was carried a knock. I think the international break came at the right time. But we did sign that guy. Was it Tottenham or Arsenal who played against Swansea? Can't remember the name. Double barrel name.
The youngster. Yeah,
and,
the youngster. I can't remember his name either.
I went to the Swansea Cardiff game in the Nathaniel Cup, and he looked quite good. You know, big and strong, but composed on the ball as well.
I'm trying to remember his name. But,
they signed him from Spurs, haven't they? He's a mate of Atete's or something.
I'd have to go and dig into my team sheets.
I can't remember his name, but he's supposedly quite promising and a big
unit. Yeah, he looked good. Yeah.
As you say, Dave, Tete's come on no end for the pass, and you can only tip of the hat there to the coaching staff who've obviously spent a lot of time developing.
He's got about 5 goals.
He looks. I mean, Ugbo, I would never start the centre forward ever because he's just not a centre forward. Tete, yes, but then have a look around who else is in your squad, and if you haven't got anyone else, then for me, Grant and Robinson are the two you've got to think about because they're the ones that are going to score goals.
Yeah, I made a similar point last week, Nigel, didn't I, about the fact that Colin Grant, he got through against Watford and he blasted it over the bar, but the run was great, and he made an intelligent run. And when you see him with Robinson, they just had a fantastic partnership, didn't they?
Yeah. I think that's one of the, if we can think of problems this season, I think the main ones that stand out, which we all know, we haven't got the striker at the moment. So to be 8th when we don't really have a striker is really
encouraging, isn't it?
And the injuries that we have are really affecting us as well, and we definitely needed this international break. I mean, I think we're missing potentially half the team last game.
Key players.
Yeah, and it is the big players that are missing, isn't it? It's not the ones who can make.
They'd all be in that squad for sure, wouldn't they?
Yeah. So I think if we can get somehow, I don't know what's going on with Ramsey, but let's just hope he can get back sooner rather than later. If we can stay in or around contention until the new year, then maybe we can give ourselves a good shot at it in January. But I think some of we can look. I think most games we can sort of question some of the tactics and substitution choices of Bullet, but he's doing really well despite that, and I think he is learning. Do you
think, Steve, because Nigel's made a good point there, I think, do you think there's anything in the fact that Errol is experienced in Turkish football, and it's kind of a different culture, isn't it? British football and Championship is a kind of a different kind of. It's more physical, and the matches come more regularly. It's just a different kind of game, maybe to some extent.
It's bound to be a learning curve, I think, Steve. The frequency of the matches, as you just said there. You've got a Tuesday or a Wednesday, Saturday, or whatever Sunday, but the matches are ongoing, aren't they? So. But it looks like you can't knock the guy because we're in a position which we would never ever. I mean, I was expecting maybe relegation just above the relegation zone. So you can't knock the guy. I mean, and like we said earlier, he could be higher, but he's hopefully he is learning, and hopefully he can see. I mean, we can all see that we need a decent centre forward, and let's the purse strings are released a bit in January. We can get someone in.
So Kiefer got 2 goals. I know against Gibraltar, but took them both. They were classic Kiefer Moore head them back across the box goals. He's got that, hasn't he?
It's just what we need, and it's not only that; it's his movement and a presence. He's got and now and again, okay, we're playing this new brand of football, which is the best way to play. But now and again, it doesn't hurt, as we've seen, to put as we saw last night with Wilson's goal, to put your foot through it. If you've got a decent centre forward, you can flick on. You've got Tanner bombing off him. You got Rambo hopefully fit, just coming in behind him. A decent centre forward, a long ball from the keeper. It doesn't hurt every now and again. You don't have to play across your 18-yard box every 2 minutes.
Well, that's the other thing we talked about a bit. On last week's show, but we'll go back to it now because you know, it happened in the Premiership quite a bit actually the same weekend, but it was a comedic goal. It was no reason for it to be a goal. You know, it was just. What's your thoughts on that playing from the back stuff?
Teams are getting caught all the time, Steve, aren't they? Even, you know, as you mentioned there, I watched the Brighton-Liverpool game, I think it was. Even top Premier teams who are playing the right way are getting caught and conceding goals. And when I watch that, I jot stuff down. I thought, I can't believe that this is the right way to play all the time. Now and again, yes, it's great to play through the lines, but now and again, it doesn't hurt to put your foot through it. If you've got someone, you know, a presence up front that can control the ball, knock it off, and you've got the wing backs or your wingers bombing on, just now and again, it doesn't hurt to play that way and take a bit of pressure off the back four.
David's gone into the dark now.
I can't look at what I can't look at what I've
changed. His mood. He was quite jolly.
What I've done, sorry.
He's having a downer. He's gone into a dark, gloomy spot.
I can't work out how to resurrect it. Let me try again.
We'll let you, you know, get your.
I might leave the meeting and come back.
Oh, mood enhancer or something.
Steve,
Nigel,
we got a few messages on
brilliant.
YouTube.
Let's have them.
I'll read those. So our good friend Steve Thomas, who was in London, walking down the street and bumped into Mehmet Delman and Ken Chu, walking down the streets in London. So they were quite happy to have a chat with him. I think they were quite chuffed that they were recognised by a Cardiff City fan. I think Delman would have run a mile last season if he'd seen a City fan, but he's doing well. So Steve said, evening, gents, going back to the Wales game. Great result last night. Credit to the way they took the game to Croatia. But I have to say that was the poorest Croatian team I've possibly ever seen.
Well, that's a different take, isn't it?
Yeah, and I didn't think what really shocked me last night personally was how many times Croatia just put the ball out of play. They seem to be passing to the crowd half the night. I think
Watford did that a lot against us, actually, didn't they?
It must have been 15 to 20 times. I think I saw them pass out wide, and it went straight out into touch. So and Modric, I know Modric is a great player, but I didn't think he was influential last night. You couldn't get the ball off him, and he was great on the ball, but he just didn't.
He's getting on a bit now, though, isn't he?
38 now, brilliant. But he's only played 3 times this season, so he did well. But same with the Welsh boys, really, didn't he? Most of those have had so few games this season. Steve just also says we now need to beat the 2 teams we lost to, and if we do that, we'll deserve to qualify. Come on, Wales. And then he's just got to say with City, I'm really pleased with Errol so far, but I'm concerned injuries may cost us. I hope we can hang in there till January and Errol can be back to bring in players that can mount that playoff challenge for us.
Yeah. And sorry, Nigel, Karen.
I was going to say, we've also got messages just from Chris Football CCFC. Hiya, Chris. Saying what a positive start to the season. And he's just looking ahead to the next couple of games, saying Blackburn are not on a good run at the moment and Huddersfield are down there too. But anyone can beat anyone in this league, but I'm positive for good results. And that is the key thing for Cardiff. And if they come back this weekend and they're playing 2 teams, I think they're 4th and 5th or 6th from bottom at the moment. Neither of them having great seasons. So 2 tricky away games, Blackburn and Huddersfield. But really, we should be looking to get 4 points minimum, I would hope, from those 2 games. Nick a win and a draw. We put ourselves in great shape coming to the Bristol game now.
Yeah, the trouble is, of course, going back to the players who are out, some of them are out for quite a while. We don't know how long Ramsey's going to be out for. O'Dowda, I love O'Dowda. He's going to be out for a while. And then, of course, the last thing we want really is Jamilu to pick up a serious knock and actually do his hamstrings like that. Yeah. He's so good, and we haven't really got much backup there. And then even in that game, where all of a sudden, he stuck NG down the left and put Abu Adams on the right. What that says to Romeo, I don't know. But going back to what Steve said earlier, Nigel, I think he might be onto quite a good point there, because if we think about Alnwick and his distribution, he was trying to get the ball out wide, and he was going into the crowd quite a bit. Yeah, when his distribution wasn't great in that Watford game. But if Kiefer Moore comes back in, going back to what Steve said about putting your foot through the ball and getting up the park a bit, if you've got someone like Kiefer Moore, who's a really excellent target man, he holds the ball up well, brings others into play, really could be quite a big, significant breakthrough for us, couldn't it?
Kiefer would transform this Cardiff City side. If Kiefer was at Cardiff, we know he's 15 to 20 goals apart from what else he brings to the team. second half, he was playing quite closely to me. I was on the sort of grandstand side. And what you don't realise with Kiefer is what good feet he's got as well. For a big man, he's got really, he's very skillful. And a couple of times he sort of nutmegged and tricked those Croatian players. He's very strong on the ball. They're fearful of him, defenders, because he's got those attributes to his game. And of course, that's what Cardiff are missing. We haven't got a target man up front this season. We haven't got anyone who can hold the ball up. So the fact that we're doing well without having that available to us, is credit to the team, but we know if we had something like that, we could be better again.
I just don't. Steve, as a renowned striker, what's your take on Kiefer Moore? You a big Kiefer Moore fan?
Is that me? Is it?
Yeah, Steve.
Oh, sorry, Steve, I missed that. Yeah, absolutely, and he's the missing. If you put Kiefer Moore in our team for the first half of the season, I think we would be comfortably in the top 6. He's the missing link. It's like you just said there, and we said earlier. If you've got a target man that can hold the ball, the trouble is we're knocking the ball, even if we're playing through the line,
coming back, isn't it?
It's not sticking, and there's your, and look how good he is in the air as well, Steve. But it's not only that; it's his movement. As a centre forward, you've got to move, and he's a great mover in the box. You know, and like you said,
I've heard you're a great mover, Steve.
Sorry,
I've heard you're a great mover.
40 years ago.
Hell of a mover, she said.
She's giving you the one finger salute.
Oh yeah, that might be a dance routine. You don't know.
No, I think I just hope he's not getting the game for Bournemouth, is he? So I mean, you'd think he'd want to play regular, and it's a dream ticket for everyone. I think if we can find the finance to bring him in or whatever he wants. I don't know. What do you think, Nigel?
I think the finance is there, Nigel, isn't it?
I think the finance is there because of the outcome on this Salah insurance case. I know that's put although the club aren't disclosing the sum, I know that's put quite a decent amount into the club coffers. And I think I mentioned before, Bournemouth still owe Cardiff £1 million for the transfer out. So it's probably just a case that they will write off that as the deal, just to offload him. And then it's a case of Cardiff covering his salary, I guess. So I'm sure the deal is doable. And by all accounts, it could have happened in August. It just wasn't because of the we were under the embargo and some of the complications with that at the time. So all being well, I know people have got different views on is Kiefer still up for it because he hasn't been active last year or so. But I think there's 2 games for Wales, or that half he had at Wrexham, and then last night showed that he's more than capable at this level. And he could offer Cardiff just qualities that we don't have in that position.
I mean, we don't really want him. We do want him doing well for Wales. Yeah. We don't want him doing, John hat-tricks and whatever, because the next thing they may not want to get rid of him.
Someone else might jump in. He could be Millwall now.
Bangs in 2 hat-tricks in the next couple of games.
We'll never see him again. David Collins, I think he's made I think it's his early Halloween thing. He just went into the darkness and slowly drifted off into the ether, mysteriously. So, but thank you, David.
Still on a coin meter.
Yes, but good to have him on because it's not it's interesting to have David on because he's a journalist and he covers the games. I probably told you some of the stuff before, Nigel. I did some stuff for the club over the years, and I never managed to stay neutral. I was just could never quite pull that one off. I was like yelling abuse from the press box with the other journalists telling me off. You can't say that, But so it's a difficult thing to do is to remain objective. But actually, to widen the conversation, Steve, I'll ask your opinion because you're a radio guy, yeah. So I had a conversation at Radio Wales years ago with a journalist who has written books about football, not necessarily a Cardiff City fan, but I think one of his books is about Cardiff City. And we were having this conversation, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, it's BBC, mind you. You've got to be objective. You've got to be neutral. You can't show your true opinion. You have to be neutral." So my opinion is totally the reverse, and I'll put this to you, Steve, and then I'm bringing Nigel on it. One of my radio heroes when I was growing up was Phil Suarez.
Yeah,
I love Phil. I love Phil Suarez. He couldn't be more biased. He couldn't be more Cardiff City, and he was a great broadcaster, and a great guy. But you know, I mean, if it was me running Radio Wales, you know, thankfully I haven't applied, you know. But you know, I've said out of the most biased North Walian covering the Wrexham games, I'd have, you know, the Jack of Jacks covering the Swansea games, and I'd have, you know, the most Cardiff City person I could find to do the Cardiff matches. Because if you have that passion and enthusiasm, it comes across, and I think that's an audience winner. So I think that they've got it wrong. What's your thoughts, Steve?
Absolutely, yeah, I go along with that 100%, Steve. Yeah, always, you know, get the passionate ones in the box, and you know, I can. When I used to go away when I was at Real, I used to go away with the sports team, and I got booted out of the box at the end because I just couldn't.
Well done.
I remember at Norwich, about 3 rows in front of us turned round when we banged one in, but I was a bit too passionate. But yeah, 100%. If you know, to have the right people commenting on the games, you know, get them in there. You know,
well, you should be doing it then, Steve. You should be on Radio Wales. You should be the City guy.
I did try, but unfortunately, I knocked the door, but I was turned away, Steve. There we go.
Well, you know, it's a difficult one to get through that door. Nigel, what's your thoughts on that?
I'm with you all the way, Steve. You know what it's like in this modern era, though. You know, if you get a passionate commentator like that, you'll get, for every 60 you live, you'll get
because
40.
It's genuine, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the way it is these days. But yeah, I'm all for that, passionate commentators. That's what it's about. People who listen to Cardiff City on Radio Wales are Cardiff City fans. So that's what you want to hear, isn't it? Someone you can identify with doing that commentary. And likewise, I suppose, the Swansea Newport Wrexham.
It's the same as a music presenter, if you think about it, Steve. If you've got someone that's passionate about music and knows their music, you know, a couple of my friends are really good presenters, very knowledgeable, spend a lot of time on the internet, and they got all the facts up there. If you're passionate about anything you do, that comes across, and people love that. People love passion.
I even find that with the Cardiff City TV coverage. I mean, they do obviously work for and support the club, but they're not as passionate as I'd like them to be, you know. I'd like them to be I'd like them to be more outspoken. Nigel's gone into thoughtful mode now. He might have
No, I think you're right. I don't always pick up the Cardiff City thing, but I have heard them. I don't think they're too bad when I have heard them. But yeah, they tell you what you're watching half the time, and sometimes you want commentators who'll tell you, put a bit more life and we go down the City for a laugh and a chat and talk about the game, isn't it? And if I'm watching a TV screen, I don't want to be told what I'm looking at anyway. You want to embellish with a little bit more than that.
Well, if you flick on to other streams, Steve, and I do quite a bit. The passion on some of those unbelievable, really strong. The guy who does Middlesbrough, the guy up north that does Rotherham, is really biased towards the Yorkshire teams. If you watch a Huddersfield game or something, and they know everything. They got like an ex-player in the box with them, and it's a really good listen. You know,
I heard the West Brom one. They're virtually like a double act. The guys at West Brom, they're absolutely brilliant. Yeah, you're right. But the
ex-players are great, aren't they? You know.
Yeah, even the Rotherham game where they were watering the pitch, they weren't watering the pitch according to the two Rotherham boys. They're just doing a bit of weeding. Brilliant.
I disappeared then. I don't know whether the live stream kind of broke down. That's my day.
No, it's still going. It's still going, Steve.
Ah, great. My car broke down this morning. I had to be towed home for the ROC, and now I've got a massive bill coming my way. But I've got a great little radio story for you, Steve. You'll love this one. So I used to work for Red Dragon. You know, the station doesn't exist anymore, so I suppose I won't go into the full story, but I'll give you a flavour of it. So I used to work for Red Dragon FM, and I was in the box at Cardiff City. You know, I was in there with Phil. You know, sometimes I was match day announcer, and I was having a conversation with Phil, and of course they've got you on, you know, the radio term. Sorry, but you know they got you on pre-fade in the studio, so they can kind of hear. And all of a sudden, this voice comes on across. Steve, we can hear every word you're saying. If we don't shut up, we'll complain about you.
Yeah, I was always told that if they're in the studio, don't stand in front of them.
I know.
you got to get away from the mic, Steve.
Yeah.
And I got caught out a couple of times, but you need your wits about you when there's microphones there. Yeah.
The other thing to say as well, sorry, Steve, the other thing to say is, you'll remember Phil Suarez as well, no doubt. I haven't got time now anyway, but at some point I'll regale him. I'm sure we all got stories, Phil Suarez stories. I'll share some of mine again, but I had some fantastic, crazy times in that box with Phil. Anything from you, Nigel, about Phil Suarez as a kind of figure in Cardiff City folklore, I suppose?
As a listener, to on the old CBC radio, wasn't it, when he sort of took it on, and
great Cardiff accent.
Yeah, his passion that came with the commentary, and it was stories he heard. He's quite into his rock and roll, wasn't he? And
he was a drummer, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Johnny Grade in The Graduates, I think it was about.
Yeah, apparently he used to disappear for a half-time fag and not always be back for the second half. I heard those stories as well. But yeah, he seemed a proper character, didn't he? And untimely death too early. In a journalistic context, Steve Tucker, who used to be the Echo, and I got to know Steve pretty well. Yeah. He was very passionate about City, and sometimes courting controversy, fell out with Dave
controversial figure
and things like that. But what a nice guy he was. And he, when he got made redundant by the Echo, he actually came and worked in the same company as me for a while until he, tragically just passed one night. Then far too young again. But I think that's what supporters like is people who put a bit of character into things. They're not for everyone, but the majority of fans identify with people like that who've got that passion. That they'll stand on the terraces next to you, they'll have a drink with you, that sort of thing, and that's what came across with people like Phil and people like that. Yeah.
Well, I saw Ali outside on the way into match the other week, and everyone's coming up to me saying, "Hi, Ali, how are you?" and whatever. And he said, "Oh, you're going in the crazy end with me, are you?" I'll get Ali on the show. There's another character. He'll come on the show one week.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, Phil used to drive a team bus as well. You probably know that, Nigel. Do you?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But he always said, he said to me, he said, never work for the club, son. You never work for the club, because once you do, everything changes. And when I did, for that time, I kind of got that, because you got to control yourself, and I struggle with that. Steve, you'd make a great match day announcer at Cardiff City, I reckon, if you're going for that as well.
I'd love to do it. Yeah, love to.
Let's start a campaign.
I've never gone for it. I was touted when I was at Real to do something like that, but I think they were trying to strike some sort of a deal, like sponsorship.
Yeah.
With the radio.
You probably wanted too much of a, you asked for too much of a, what's it called? But when the bands when they do the gigs, what's the rider? Yeah,
rider.
The rider.
I'm easily pleased, Steve. It's like, look, that's apple and blackcurrant squash. That's my favourite tipple. There we go. So
there we go.
A bottle of that and a pack of Oxo crisps, and I'm in.
Wow, and that's probably why Kath married you. Nice and
you're
cheap.
Swimming, Steve.
What's that, mate?
And you're swimming as well, mate.
Oh yeah, like yeah. That's changed my life. That has. Yeah.
I was in this morning.
Cold shower now. For the last 2 months, I've been cold showering every day.
I went for a dip over the island this morning. I didn't find my bits until lunchtime.
It's become colder. Biting wind out there this morning, Nigel. Biting. Yeah.
Sometimes the show goes down an avenue you don't expect. That was one of them. We haven't really, apart from the fact we got the Bristol City game, at some point coming up, to look forward to. I suppose we want. It's a shame. I think there's not more Cardiff City players in the Wales squad, actually, but there you are. There's only one from Swansea, I think, so it's not. Don't feel so bad about it. So we end up just talking about Wales, I suppose. A couple of more big games to come. Do you think Wales are going to, how do you think they're going to get on over the last couple of matches, Nigel? Do you fancy them to do it now?
It looks like all the teams the top three could end up on 16 points, didn't it? And Croatia are going to win their last two, surely, against Latvia, and home. I think it's home to Armenia and away against Latvia out they are. So I can't see them failing not to win those last two games. So the key one for us is getting that win in Armenia, and we owe it to them. That was if we hadn't messed up that night at home against them, we'd be on the plane now, wouldn't we? But I think if we can beat Armenia out there, they're just going to ride the tide in that home game against Turkey, who will already be qualified anyway. So, how much will they want to go for it? I don't know. But it's doable. And, 36 hours ago, he wouldn't have said that. So it's amazing how one result has just changed everything in the group, because we're now second, aren't we? We're above Croatia because of the head-to-head results against them. So as long as we get 2 wins, there's nothing they can do to stop it. We're also 95% guaranteed now for the playoffs, which would be a home semi, but probably an away final. So you don't really want to take that second chance because that's not an easy route at all, but it is there for them. So even if it does go wrong in those 2 games, they do have another chance. And I would hope that last night did inspire them and give them some confidence, which arguably they were lacking. I'm not sure the belief was there. They were definitely wounded because of some of the comments that have been made last week, and they're close to Page. And I mentioned Mooney earlier. I think the comment where he said he did factually say we're going to review what's happening with Page at the end of the campaign was the wrong thing to say at the wrong time. And for Ben Davies, the captain, to come out and say he should keep his mouth shut on those things, it's quite telling. It felt like there was a bit of a split in the camp, but for whatever reason, I don't know if that was the cause of why Wales were right at it from the off last night. But if it did, then perhaps it was a masterstroke by Mooney because it worked.
Steve, I'll just come to you lastly. One of the things that Rob Page said, which was quite nice, he said they had a 2.5-minute video of Wales doing great things, to kind of wind them up and inspire them before they went out, and obviously worked. Do you think Wales can make it?
I think they can now, Steve. Yeah, let's hope they get at Armenia. There's no reason why we can't beat Armenia away, is there? We, as you say, Johnson may be back, maybe Rambo, maybe not. But after that performance there, they can go into that next game full of confidence, and then on to Turkey with what an atmosphere that's going to be. That's going to be a crazy night if we're in that position where we need to beat Turkey. It'll be absolutely buzzing down there, won't it? I think we can do it. I really do.
Well, thank you both for being on the panel. Thanks also to David, who just, as you say, made like a puff of smoke, early kind of panto disappearance, but nice to get him on. And we'll see you on the show again soon, guys. Cheers both. See you.
Steve.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers, Steve.